In 2000, Angelina Jolie and Bob Thornton became one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples. Their sudden marriage, public displays of affection, and unusual relationship fascinated millions. But just as quickly as it began, the romance fell apart. For years, rumors, speculation, and unanswered questions surrounded their split. Now, after decades of silence and reflection, Bob Thornton has shared new thoughts about that turbulent chapter. What really happened behind the headlines that shocked Hollywood and changed both lives forever? By the late 1990s, Angelina Jolie was becoming one of the most fascinating figures in Hollywood. She had already earned critical praise for her acting and was building a reputation as someone completely different from the typical movie star. Her personality was bold. Her interviews were unpredictable. Audiences never quite knew what she might say or do next. At the same time, Bob Thornton had established himself as one of Hollywood's most respected talents. He was known for his work as an actor, writer, and director. After the success of Sling Blade, his career had reached new heights. He was admired for his unique style and creative vision. On the surface, the two seemed very different. Angelina was younger, adventurous, and constantly making headlines. Bob was older, experienced, and known for his southern charm and independent spirit. Few people imagined that their paths would soon collide. The two met while working in Hollywood during a period when both were heavily focused on their careers. Their connection developed quickly. Friends and industry insiders noticed an immediate chemistry between them. What started as a friendship soon became something much deeper. As their relationship grew, the outside world remained largely unaware of what was happening behind closed doors. Then came the moment that stunned Hollywood. In May 2000, Angelina Jolie and Bob Thornton got married in Las Vegas. The wedding was small and private. There had been no long engagement, no months of public planning, no major announcements. One day they were dating. The next day they were husband and wife. The news spread across entertainment media almost instantly. Fans were shocked. Reporters rushed to learn more about the unexpected marriage. Television programs, newspapers, and magazines all focused on the surprising couple. Almost overnight, they became one of the most talked-about relationships in the world. For many people, the marriage seemed impossible to predict. The age difference attracted attention. Their contrasting personalities created endless discussion. Some observers believed the relationship would never last. Others saw something genuine between them. As the cameras followed their every move, Angelina and Bob appeared completely unconcerned about public opinion. In fact, they often embraced the attention. Their public appearances quickly became legendary. Photographers captured moments that seemed designed to challenge Hollywood norms. Interviews revealed a relationship that was passionate, intense, and unlike anything audiences were used to seeing. Soon, stories about the couple dominated entertainment headlines. One of the most discussed topics involved their unusual ways of expressing affection. Every new detail fueled public fascination. Some fans viewed their behavior as proof of deep love. Others saw it as evidence that the relationship was moving too fast. Regardless of the opinions, people could not stop talking about them. As audiences watched from around the world, Angelina and Bob appeared deeply committed to one another. Their chemistry was obvious. Whether attending premieres, appearing on red carpets, or giving interviews, they projected an image of complete devotion. For a time, it seemed as though they were living inside their own world. Yet behind the glamorous photographs and television appearances, reality was far more complicated. Both were dealing with demanding careers. Angelina's popularity continued to grow rapidly. New opportunities arrived one after another. Her schedule became increasingly busy as major film projects demanded her attention. Bob was also balancing multiple responsibilities. Acting roles, directing projects, and music pursuits required significant time and energy. Success brought opportunities, but it also brought pressure. The demands of Hollywood rarely leave much room for personal life. Long filming schedules often meant spending time apart. Career decisions required sacrifices. Public scrutiny added another layer of stress. These challenges are difficult for any couple. For two people living under constant media attention, they could become even harder. Meanwhile, the fascination surrounding their relationship continued to intensify. Magazine covers featured their faces. Television programs analyzed every appearance. Reporters searched for clues about their marriage. Even small comments made during interviews became major news stories. The public image of Angelina and Billy Bob grew larger than reality itself. In many ways, they stopped being viewed as ordinary people. They became symbols of a wild Hollywood romance. But public perception rarely tells the entire story. As time passed, subtle differences began to emerge. Their backgrounds were different. Their lifestyles were different. Their personal goals were not always aligned. At first, these differences seemed easy to overlook. The excitement of a new relationship often hides potential problems. However, relationships built under intense public attention face unique challenges. The same passion that attracted millions of fans could also create pressure behind closed doors. While the world celebrated what appeared to be one of Hollywood's most exciting love stories, cracks were beginning to form beneath the surface. Most people could not see them. The headlines remained positive. The photographs still showed smiles. The public image looked strong. Yet the foundation of the relationship was already facing tests that would become impossible to ignore. And as their fame continued to grow, those hidden challenges would soon become impossible to keep out of the spotlight. But as the media celebrated their romance, private differences were quietly starting to grow. As the year 2000 moved forward, Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton seemed impossible to escape. Their faces appeared on magazine covers across the world. Entertainment programs discussed their relationship almost daily. Photographers followed them wherever they went. Every public appearance generated new headlines. For Hollywood, they had become the celebrity couple everyone wanted to talk about. The attention was constant. At movie premieres, crowds gathered hoping to catch a glimpse of them together. Reporters fought for interviews. Cameras flashed endlessly as they walked red carpets side by side. To many fans, their relationship appeared exciting and fearless. They did not seem interested in following Hollywood rules. Instead, they embraced their own unique style. That willingness to be different only made the public more interested. Whenever Angelina and Billy Bob appeared together, people paid attention. Some admired their confidence. Others questioned whether such an intense relationship could survive over time. Yet despite the criticism, the couple continued presenting a united front. In interviews, they often spoke warmly about one another. Their affection appeared genuine. For a while, it seemed that nothing could come between them. However, life behind the cameras was becoming increasingly complicated. Both Angelina and Billy Bob were experiencing major moments in their careers. Angelina's star was rising rapidly. Directors wanted to work with her. Studios viewed her as one of Hollywood's most promising actresses. New opportunities arrived one after another. With every successful project, her schedule became busier. Filming often required travel. Weeks could be spent on movie sets far from home. Promotional tours added even more demands. Success was opening doors, but it was also taking up more of her time. Billy Bob faced similar challenges. His acting career remained strong. New projects continued to appear. He was also balancing work as a writer, director, and musician. His creative interests stretched across several industries. That meant long hours and constant commitments. Like Angelina, he often found himself pulled in multiple directions at once. For any married couple, balancing busy careers can be difficult. For two celebrities living under intense public attention, the challenge becomes even greater. Time together became harder to protect. Travel schedules often conflicted. Professional responsibilities frequently came first. The excitement of their whirlwind romance was slowly being replaced by the realities of everyday life. Meanwhile, another change was beginning to take shape. Angelina was evolving personally. During this period, she started developing a growing interest in humanitarian causes. Travel experiences exposed her to different parts of the world and different human struggles. She became increasingly interested in issues that extended far beyond Hollywood. This shift would eventually become one of the defining aspects of her life. At the time, however, it was only beginning. Her focus was expanding. Her priorities were changing. She was starting to think differently about the future. Billy Bob remained deeply connected to his artistic work. His passion for storytelling, filmmaking, and music continued to guide his career. There was nothing unusual about that, but it meant that the two were slowly moving toward different personal journeys. Neither path was wrong. They were simply becoming different. At first, these changes were easy to overlook. Public appearances still showed smiles. Interviews remained positive. The image presented to the world suggested that everything was fine. Yet relationships are rarely defined by public moments. The real story unfolds in private conversations, difficult decisions, and everyday experiences. As months passed, rumors began appearing in entertainment media. Some reports claimed the couple was spending more time apart. Others suggested growing tension. Few of these stories could be confirmed. Still, the speculation continued. The media had become fascinated with every detail of their marriage. Even ordinary events were transformed into major headlines. A missed appearance, a separate trip, a brief comment during an interview. Everything became a subject of discussion. For Angelina and Billy Bob, living under that level of scrutiny created its own challenges. Every relationship experiences ups and downs. Most couples work through them privately. Celebrity couples often do not have that luxury. Every disagreement risks becoming public news. Every personal decision invites outside judgment. The pressure can be overwhelming. As the audience watched from afar, it became increasingly difficult to separate reality from rumor. Fans saw photographs. Reporters shared theories. Television programs offered endless analysis. But only Angelina and Billy Bob truly understood what was happening inside their marriage. Despite the growing questions, neither publicly revealed much about their private struggles. Instead, they continued focusing on their careers and responsibilities. Yet beneath the surface, important changes were taking place. The passionate romance that had once seemed unstoppable was facing its first major tests. The very qualities that had drawn them together were now creating challenges. Different lifestyles, different priorities, different visions for the future. None of these issues appeared overnight. They developed gradually, quietly, almost invisibly. But over time, those differences became harder to ignore. The world still saw a famous couple standing together in front of flashing cameras. What the world could not see was how much pressure had begun building behind the scenes. And before long, that pressure would lead to a turning point neither of them could avoid. Then came a turning point that neither public appearances nor romantic headlines could hide. By the beginning of 2002, subtle changes in Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton's relationship were becoming harder to ignore. For nearly 2 years, they had been one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples. Their romance had generated endless headlines. Fans had followed every public appearance, every interview, and every unusual expression of affection. But now, the story was beginning to change. The excitement that once surrounded their marriage was slowly being replaced by questions. Behind the scenes, both Angelina and Billy Bob were continuing to evolve as individuals. The problem was not a lack of success. In many ways, both were thriving professionally. Angelina's career was reaching new heights. She was becoming one of the most recognizable actresses in the world. Major film roles continued to strengthen her reputation. Opportunities seemed limitless. At the same time, her personal outlook was changing. Her humanitarian interests were growing stronger. International travel exposed her to issues that deeply affected her. The experiences began shaping how she viewed her future. She wanted her life to mean more than fame. She wanted a larger purpose. Meanwhile, Billy Bob remained committed to his own creative journey. Acting, directing, writing, and music continued to play central roles in his life. His passion for storytelling remained as strong as ever. Neither person was standing still. The challenge was that they were moving in different directions. As time passed, maintaining the connection that had once felt effortless became increasingly difficult. The realities of marriage started replacing the excitement of a whirlwind romance. Busy schedules kept them apart. Professional obligations demanded constant attention. The pressure of living under a microscope never disappeared. Every relationship faces challenges. Celebrity relationships often face those same challenges while millions of people watch. The public still saw glamorous photographs. Magazine covers still celebrated their romance. But private realities were becoming harder to hide. Soon, reports of trouble began appearing more frequently. Entertainment journalists started questioning whether the marriage was in trouble. Some stories suggested distance between the couple. Others claimed they were struggling to spend meaningful time together. As always, rumors spread quickly. The truth was known only to those closest to the situation. Yet one thing was becoming clear. The relationship was no longer the carefree romance that had captured public attention in 2000. Something had changed. In many ways, the very speed that had defined their relationship from the beginning may have contributed to its difficulties. Their courtship had moved quickly. Their marriage had happened quickly. Now they were confronting realities that many couples face over years. Only they were doing it under intense public scrutiny. As months passed, signs of separation became more noticeable. Appearances together became less frequent. Questions from reporters became more direct. Fans sensed that something was wrong. Then came the news many had started to expect. In 2002, the marriage came to an end. The announcement shocked many observers, even though rumors had circulated for months. For those who remembered the excitement of their wedding, the divorce felt surprisingly sudden. One of Hollywood's most talked about love stories was over. The reaction was immediate. Newspapers covered the story extensively. Television programs analyzed every possible reason behind the breakup. Magazines filled pages with speculation. Everyone seemed to have a theory. Why had the marriage failed? What had happened behind closed doors? Could the relationship have been saved? The public wanted answers. But detailed explanations never fully arrived. Neither Angelina nor Billy Bob publicly revealed every aspect of their private struggles. Instead, much of the real story remained between them. That silence created a vacuum. And whenever information is limited, speculation grows. Over the following months, countless rumors appeared. Some focused on career pressures. Others pointed to lifestyle differences. Many attempted to identify a single reason for the breakup. The reality was likely far more complex. Relationships rarely end because of one moment. More often, they are shaped by many small changes that build over time. Different priorities, different goals, different visions of the future. The public often searches for dramatic explanations. Real life is usually more complicated. As the divorce became official, both Angelina and Billy Bob faced the difficult task of moving forward. A chapter of their lives had ended. The marriage that once fascinated millions now belonged to the past. Yet despite the breakup, one thing remained remarkably powerful: the public's fascination. Years later, people would still talk about the relationship. Questions would continue. Theories would continue. And the mystery surrounding what truly happened would never completely disappear. At the time, however, neither Angelina nor Billy Bob could know just how long that curiosity would last. They were focused on rebuilding their lives, starting over, finding new directions, leaving behind a chapter that had been both extraordinary and challenging. But while the marriage was ending, the story itself was far from over. Because the years ahead would transform both of their lives in ways neither could have imagined. But the divorce itself was only the beginning of a mystery that would linger for decades. When Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton officially went their separate ways, many people expected the story to fade away. Hollywood relationships often come and go. Headlines appear, attract attention for a short time, and then disappear as new stories take their place. But this was different. The marriage between Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton had captured the imagination of millions. Even after the divorce, people remained curious about what had happened and what would come next. For both of them, however, life was moving forward. The end of their marriage marked the beginning of entirely new chapters. Angelina entered a period of dramatic personal and professional growth. Her career continued to rise at an extraordinary pace. New film projects placed her among the most recognizable actresses in the world. Audiences admired her talent, while studios viewed her as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. But acting was no longer the only focus of her life. The humanitarian interests that had begun growing during her marriage became a central part of her identity. She traveled extensively around the world, visiting regions affected by poverty, conflict, and displacement. These experiences deeply influenced her outlook. Over time, she became known not only as a movie star but also as a humanitarian voice on the international stage. The transformation was remarkable. Many people who remembered the rebellious young actress of the late 1990s watched her evolve into a figure associated with global causes and humanitarian work. At the same time, major changes were also unfolding in her personal life. The years after the divorce brought new relationships, new responsibilities, and eventually one of the most talked-about partnerships in Hollywood history. As Angelina's public profile continued growing, the world watched her life take unexpected turns. Meanwhile, Bob Thornton was building a different path. Although media attention often focused on his past marriage, he remained committed to his work. Acting continued to be a major part of his career. He appeared in films and television projects that showcased his unique style and talent. Audiences appreciated his ability to portray complex characters, while critics continued recognizing his creative abilities. Music also remained important to him. Throughout the years, he pursued his passion for songwriting and performing, balancing multiple artistic interests at the same time. Unlike many celebrities who become defined by a single relationship, Bob worked steadily to ensure his career remained the focus of his public identity. And it worked. As the years passed, his professional achievements continued to grow. Yet despite their separate successes, one thing connected both Angelina and Bob. Neither could completely escape public curiosity about their marriage. Even years after the divorce, interviewers continued asking questions. Reporters revisited old stories. Fans searched for clues about what had really happened. The relationship had become part of Hollywood history. In many ways, it had taken on a life of its own. For younger audiences who had not witnessed the relationship firsthand, the story almost seemed unbelievable. The whirlwind romance, the surprise wedding, the intense media coverage, the sudden breakup. It felt like something from a movie. As time passed, public perception slowly began to change. The dramatic headlines that once dominated entertainment news started fading into the background. People became more interested in the individuals rather than the relationship itself. Angelina was now viewed through the lens of her humanitarian work and major film career. Bob was increasingly recognized for his long and successful body of work across film, television, and music. The marriage became one chapter in much larger stories. Yet questions remained unanswered. Why had such a passionate romance ended so quickly? What had really happened behind closed doors? Were the public assumptions accurate? Or had the true story been misunderstood from the beginning? The lack of detailed answers only strengthened the mystery. Over the years, both Angelina and Bob generally avoided speaking extensively about the relationship. That silence became part of the story itself. The fewer details that emerged, the more curiosity grew. For decades, people continued wondering whether there was more to the story than the headlines had ever revealed. And eventually, after many years had passed, Bob Thornton would begin looking back on that chapter of his life with a different perspective. Time had changed many things. The emotions had settled. The distance of years allowed reflection. And what he would eventually reveal would surprise many people who thought they already understood the story. Years later, Bob Thornton would finally offer a perspective that changed how many viewed the story. More than 2 decades had passed since Angelina Jolie